quickly off the top of my head, and then we'll get back to you.
Right.
Like with my Montessori project here and worldwide, and I'll explain a lot of this to you later. I attach. It's not just do you know Montessori? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we talked a little bit about
Right,
that.
you know, that's
Yeah.
also, I think, wow, that might be a kind of very good thing
this
to
is the
join
one,
together.
yeah, this is the one I hope I can interest you in this. But along with Montessori really is only a very part, and not even the largest part of what I offer, because I bring together and integrate things like parent effectiveness training.
Again, please. Parents?
P.E.T. Parent
P.E.T.
Effectiveness.
Parent
Effectiveness training. Pet, like a pet. P.E.T. Very famous. Yeah, this is very famous out of America.
You know
very
what?
famous.
Actually, we have a lot of schools to train students, but we don't have that many schools to train parents.
Exactly.
You know, people just were pushed or are being pushed to be parents when they deliver.
This is such an incredible program. Over 3 million people have taken it in America and worldwide since Thomas Gordon is the inventor, the developer of this method of helping parents be persons first and parents second.
Sure, we can see a lot of things parents are complaining to their kids. Actually, if you source it, you research it, they're all from themselves.
The source, in fact, is the name of my school, The Source. The Source. Yeah, The Source. Resource for Yourself is my company name, but the name of the Montessori school is, yeah, that's what I say. I'm a resource for your source. So when people say, well, what do you mean by source? And I say, well, I mean this, that I call my Montessori school or my entire educational approach the source, for which I am a resource for you. Every person has to source themselves. Don't outsource yourself. Don't let anyone be another authority. You are your own authority.
Right. Yeah, sure. But I really need to try to redefine or define the name of the source.
Sure. The source.
I can understand the resource.
Yeah.
Resource here resource is a verb. You're using the
well,
word.
Notice resource is 2 words. Ria means again to source. Again to source. So the source literally comes from the etymological, like a spring of water coming up. Your own source. You bubble up with your own being. You become who you are.
Right.
This is the core of being a Montessori student or teacher. That every individual. I use the metaphor of a seed.
Oh, okay.
A seed. Just to explain it is the easiest way. And I say, take any seed of any plant. That seed is its own source.
A source.
It's its own source.
Right.
Within that seed contains all of its life energy and its pattern to grow into.
Just like any kind of a sperm with an egg.
It's there. It's all in that little seed.
Okay.
So you don't have to tell that seed, grow. You become that pine tree. Seed said, I'm not a pine tree.
Right.
Oh, well, what are you? I don't know. Let's find out. This is the approach.
Sure.
This is the approach. So the Montessori school, my approach, why we're the resource, imagine the seed as a person, whether it's a little child just born or whether it's an adult your age or my age, we all are seeds. And what we need is the resource, the correct environment to be put into to allow us to grow into who we are.
Sure.
That's the core of being a resource. You allow that seed to grow into what it is.
So meaning, in your opinion, or in your Montessori education program, you are trying to offer them all the elements around the seeds to resource the source.
Absolutely. What teaches is the environment, and which includes people as well as materials.
Sure.
So you need to have just the right, again using the metaphor, the right amount of sunshine. Too much, you burn. Not enough, you don't grow. Enough rain to put in, enough fertilizer. You have to put a fence around them to protect them from the wild animals to eat them up. So all of this is a general metaphor. You have to have the right learning environment around each individual to allow them to reach their potential.
Sure.
To be the maximally best they can be. And you
know
don't
what?
tell them how to grow.
Yeah, you know what? This is really, absolutely what education should do.
Absolutely, it is education, and I make the point in my PowerPoints. I differentiate between education and schooling. Schooling is indoctrination. Do you know that word?
You what?
Indoctrination. Indoctrination.
Oh, indoctrination.
Indoctrination.
Okay.
Brainwashing.
Right. Sure.
You see, I tell my parents now, you know, when I was your age, I wish I would have known what I know now. I would never have put my kids into a public school, ever. I would homeschool them. I would do anything else but put them into a public school. Because it is ruinous. And I don't mean just in China, I mean anywhere in the earth. In fact, I could make a good case that in America now, it's worse. The schools are worse even than in China. More of a prison, more of a brainwash. It's unbelievable, this stuff. I could show you evidence that would make your hair stand on end and you'd go, what? This is happening in America today? Oh, it's unbelievable. But anyway, so what I try to get parents and education teachers to understand is that schooling and education are hugely different. And the words itself, education is two Latin words, out of, ducere, to lead. True education is leading the best of the person out of themselves. Schooling and indoctrination is opening your head and pouring in the information saying, you be this.
I understand it, and I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that's not education. So I want to get with a company that understands this, and I'd love to, if your company's like this, I'd love to join up with you, and we can really make a true educational system. I'd love to be able to do this. And I'll move anywhere. I don't care where I am in the world. I'll go wherever. Doesn't matter to me.
Thank you, Jack. Actually, so this is based on your general ideas. Do you have any kind of experimental courses or things?
Sure, I've got a huge amount of everything, and I'm gonna. How much time have you got?
Today?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, good. So you got at least another hour or so?
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, I'll run you through a presentation I give to most of my parents on my iPad.
Sure.
And this will explain to you a lot of the questions that you're asking now.
Okay. No problem.
But in general, what I'm looking for now is to start up a preschool, meaning from 2 to 6-year-olds. Somewhere in China, whether it's going to be Beijing or not, that is a genuine Montessori. Now, just tell me, how much do you know about Montessori?
When I was in my university, that name is just kind of the name in my textbook.
Right. Okay.
I know this lady is from Italy.
Good, Maria Montessori. Yep.
And I know her area is focusing on the preschools.
Yeah.
Nothing else?
Well, it started that way, but it's actually gone straight through high school now.
What?
You can take Montessori and should, I recommend it, from 2 years old to 17. Straight through.
You mean you did enough research to support your idea?
Oh, no, I know this. No, it's been going for 50 years. Oh, yeah. There's over 5,000 Montessori schools in America today. Some public, most all private, and most of them are from 2 years old to 6. Maybe I don't know what breakdown would be. Maybe 60%. Then there's maybe 20-30% are from 7 years old to maybe 13, and then there's fewer yet from the high school. But see, one of the problems with Montessori is that anyone can use the name.
Okay.
Unlike McDonald's, if you try to use McDonald's of your restaurant, they'll sue you and put you in jail.
Sure, sure.
But anyone can legally use the name Montessori, whether you even know what Montessori means or not.
That's, you know, that's the kind of phenomenon we can see for a long time. A lot of people use that name for their kindergartens,
Yeah,
for
there's
schools,
maybe 10 of them in Beijing.
but actually,
Not real Montessori. No.
Sure.
So what you've got to do, and what my whole education process over the last now 2 years, I've been talking with 50, 60 parents, mainly in Beijing, but around China generally, is to get them to, first off, really understand what a true Montessori is. And this is my whole effort so far, is to get you to understand first, how do you judge a real, true Montessori school? You know, and so I go into that, and I'll be showing you this in here. But quickly, one of the major things you've got to do, you've got to get the international organizations that are true, genuine Montessori. So you have to know the history, and you have to go deep into the whole process and spend many, many weeks, months learning, like I've done over the last 3 years, to bring you up to speed about what a real Montessori is. So I've aligned myself with what I think is probably the best international true Montessori organization, called the Montessori Foundation, out of America in Florida. A guy called Tim Selden. Tim Selden, S-E-L-D-I-N.
Oh, Tim Selden.
And he's, I guess he would be in his 60s. I think he's a little younger than me. But the guy is amazing because, to my knowledge, he's the only one I know. He went through Montessori from 2 years old through high school. Totally. Total Montessori. Then he put his children into Montessori 2 through high school. Now his children's children are putting their children, so they've got the only one I know. So this guy is an absolute encyclopedia of real, lived, practical Montessori experience and wisdom. And he's so articulate. And he's a wonderful presenter, and comes across very warm.
Where is this guy?
He's in Florida, America.
So, you know that guy?
Sure, I'm taking his course. I just paid about 8,000, 9,000 RMB, and I'm taking his online 12-week course now called Building a World-Class Montessori School. So I just watched his webinar last night at 10 o'clock in the evening, because they're in Florida. And I've downloaded this guy. I mean, you could pay twice that amount and it'd still be worth it, I think, because he's got so much hardcore information and experience. So I've downloaded this, and I've got a huge amount of work, and you have to do homework, and you hand in your assignments, and I'm doing this now. So I'm learning a lot from him, and I don't pretend to be an expert at all, or even all that knowledgeable about Montessori. So I'm learning, and it's going to take me another year or two before I get up to speed. But I certainly know, I think, more than most people in China about true Montessori. But I've got a long way to go. So that's the idea. Once you step into Montessori, you see how hugely different it is from any other, especially school. And so I try to make this point to my Chinese parents and educators like you, is that you really have to step out of the box, the education box, completely. Then, you've heard that phrase, thinking outside the box, right? Sure. Well, the way I put it is that you don't only think outside the box, but you think about the box you were in. Take the box apart. So I use a metaphor, and this is one of my teaching vehicles, is that I unfold a box. If you unfold a box, a cube box, you've got how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I name each of those sides of the box when I unfold it out. The family is number 1, then society, then culture, so I get you to think about how you are imprisoned. Most of us do not know we're not free. We do not know we're not free. So Montessori is about this. It's about learning how to be free and how to free yourself from it. And of course, when you're a little one, you have to depend on your parents, and you're only as free as a child as your parents are.
Sure.
So most of the parents around the world, not just China, but America also, and anywhere you go to, their minds are captured. They think school is the great thing. They want their children to attend it. And of course, this makes me cringe.
Yeah, they don't think that's the idealistic thing, but they don't have any other choice.
That's right. They think they don't, but they in fact have. And so I'd love to get with a company to show people in China that in fact they have another choice, a real choice to be free. And it hinges on Montessori, it hinges on PET, parent effectiveness training, it hinges on choice theory. That's the second one I use, choice theory. Choice theory, yeah. So my major two psychological tools or mental models I use, along with Montessori as the third, is the parent effectiveness training program and choice theory. And these I've been studying for many, many years, and these are hugely popular in America. Hugely popular. Hardly known at all in China. Hardly known at all. So again, part of what I want to get is with a company that really can understand this and then can say, wow, we're going to be the first in China to be able to deliver something that's already been proven in the West, but hardly anyone knows anything about in China. So we can spring this, you know.
That's the point.
Yeah,
that should be the point.
Yeah, I mean, we can offer a true alternative to school brainwashing. We can offer a true alternative. Now, I recognize that we have to market this in a way that's not going to be offensive, whether to the Chinese government or to the Chinese parents. So we have to do this subtly.
Right.
I'm not saying you're brainwashed, but
and also, if you know business more than I do, if you really want to make the business grow up, you need to do a lot of preparation.
Absolutely.
Right. So, like you said, the market segmentation, research, and target your customers, and then to try to communicate with the parents about your products, and try to give them some kind of a promotion. And then you start it out.
Excellent. And so the whole approach of mine is a community of learners, a community. The parents are the integral part of it. You've got to involve them. You've got to ask them what they want. And the hardest thing for me as a Montessori choice theory, parent effectiveness training educator is to get the parents to understand what it is I'm talking about, and it's so different from anything else, and then they must want it. They must want it.
You know, that's the key point. If you want to do business, or if you want to offer a new product to the market, you really need to know what exactly they need.
Yeah, they need.
Like you said, they must want it.
Yeah, and
meaning,
and this
as
is
soon as boom, the president here, oh right, this is exactly what I want, and then pay money.
Yeah, and this is the hard part I have found, because it's so different, especially from the Chinese mindset. So to get my Chinese parents to think outside of the box is difficult. So I use another metaphor to help them do this. I say, you must marry Montessori. You must marry Montessori. Now, what I mean by that is, like, and I use again this metaphor. I said, you know, most obviously parents are married, and I say when you met your spouse, your male or your female, your husband, your wife, and you when you were young and you fell in love, or you were friends first and then you married. I said, you know, you didn't just marry any person. You just didn't step and say, oh, I'm going to marry you. You had to know that person and then really value them, right?
Sure.
That's what makes a good marriage. So I use a model actually out of a psychologist, Sternberg. It's a romantic couple model, and he uses it, he calls it the love triangle. And any true, full relationship between man and wife has to have, excuse me, 3 legs. One is the bottom, the most important leg that we call intimacy. Intimate knowledge. You must know who your partner is. Then you must have passion. You must want them. You must desire them. Then you must have commitment. I'm committed to you. I'm going to go with you because I know you, I value you, therefore I am committed to you. Let's go. That's the goal. So that's why I say the same thing with Montessori. I've got to get my parents to first have an intimate knowledge of what the Montessori choice theory, pet effectiveness, parent effectiveness training program really is. Then you can decide if you want it. If you really have it, then you will fall in love. You'll have a passion. I want this. Then you will be committed to it. And so it's not a matter of just parking your child at a place. This is not it. You're not going to park your child like you do in a public school just to go to work and have them taken care of. That's a prison as far as I'm concerned. Schools are prisons. Yeah, so we're about community. So we're about helping the parent grow every bit as much as helping the child grow. And the parents are seeds as well. Here and the parent, I often tell my parents, you're going to probably learn more than your child. You're going to learn more than your child. So our school, companies that I can get with, putting all this together,
also, I think,
we'll be able to offer something that's totally new to child. Well, this is totally new. And I hope I can interest you in this. But along with Montessori, Montessori really is only a very city of 3 million, and not even the largest part of what I offer, because I bring together and integrate things like parent effective training.
Again, please.
It's not for everyone. P.E.T. It's not like you don't marry. If you're a conservative Chinese and you have an obedient wife, training. I only want a Chinese obedient wife. That's all I'm going to marry. Yeah, this is very famous out of America. Using the metaphor, if you're a Montessori person like me,
we have a lot of person training students, but we don't have that many students.
So parents, the two words are my core words: responsible freedom.
We're pushed.
Personally responsible freedom.
That's my philosophy.
This is such an incredible program. Over 3 million people have taken it in America, and that's the core of my Montessori approach. Inventor. Freedom. Personally responsible freedom. Freedom. Yeah. Personally responsible first and parents second. You must. I often say you're only as free as you take the responsibility to be.
If you source it,
you are only as free as you take the responsibility to be.
All right.
That's it. The source, in fact, is the name of my school. The source.
If you learn to take responsibility.
Resource for yourself is my company name, but the name of the Montessori school is, that's what I say. I'm a resource for your source. So you must allow others to be my source. And I say, well, this, that I call my Montessori school my entire, and you must allow others to do that, which is the core of Montessori. It's the core of parent effective. Every person has to source themselves. In fact, I don't outsource yourself that I brought for you. Don't let anyone be another authority. You are your own authority.
Yeah, sure. But I really need to self-discipline. Try to redefine or define the name of the source.
These are own freedom.
Resource here, resource is a word.
Notice resource is 2 words. Ria, so it's again to source. Again to source. So the source has literally comes from the etymological language. My whole spring of water coming up life in general is that your own source. You anything you want to do except for only one become who you are. This is the core of being a Montessori student against another person to get what you want. Every individual. I use the metaphor of a seed. A seed. Just to explain it. Do unto others and I say, do to another as you would have them not do to you. The golden rule. That seed is its own source. That's a part of it. But more than that, it's its own source. Within that seed contains all of its life energy, but they don't want another person to grow into.
Just like any kind of a sperm.
I'm free, but I want to control you. It's all in that little seed. So you don't have to tell that seed doesn't work. So choice theory
you
why
become
I
that
include choice
pine
theory,
tree.
William Glasser, dead now, as is Thomas Gordon, he
Right.
makes the point of 5 universal needs for every person on the earth.
the approach.
First one, survival. So you've got to have enough food.
Montessori school, my approach, why we're the resource,
Imagine the seed as a person, whether it's a
then
little
the
child
second
just
need
born or whether it's an
is,
adult your age or my age, we all
power.
are seeds, and
And
what we need
control.
is the resource, the
Both for
correct
yourself and
environment
maybe,
to be
unfortunately, a
put
lot of
into
people
allow
like to
us
control
grow
other
into
people.
who we are. And
Sure.
this is the essence of the
core
human
of
tragedy source. Whether it's Mao Zedong or Hitler or Obama or George Bush, we've got too many people out there that want to control other people and tell them how to live their life. This is how you should live your life, and if you don't, I'll
the
kill you.
elements around the seeds to
So,
resource the source.
what teaches is the environment, and which includes people as well as materials. So you need to have just the right, again using the metaphor, the right amount of sunshine. Too much, so burn. When not enough, you don't grow. Enough rain, priorities, different degrees of those needs. Some people, like politicians, need a lot of power and control. So all of this is a general. And they want freedom for themselves, but they don't like for you. Environment around. So when you get to allow them counsel marriages, and I get a man and a woman that's to be the maximum best marriage, and I've done a lot of work on this, and I've been on TV. And you don't tell them how to grow. Just do it. I can show you videos.
You're supposed to counsel marriage.
I've been doing this many.
What education should
You don't know how much
it is
stuff.
education.
No, I don't know.
I make the point in my PowerPoint that I differentiate, let's say, a husband education and schooling greatly, and you have is indoctrination. Do you know that word?
You want?
Indoctrination.
Indoctrination.
Indoctrination. Brainwashing. I need to control you. You see, I tell my parents now, they're always going to have, when I was your age, I wish I would know, someone known what I know now. Let's say I would never have put my kids into loving and belonging, and is willing to give up their freedom. I would do anything the husband wants control of power, and the life can be happy because it's called a traditional marriage. And I don't mean just in China, I mean anywhere in Europe. But in fact, I could make a good case that in America now it's worse. The schools are worse even than in China. More of a prison. And then it's unbelievable. You've got a partner that's pretty much in the evidence that would make your hair stand on end. If you don't, that's what this is happening in America today. And it's the same when we go into our school. But anyway, so we have to recognize what I try to get most of the education teachers to understand is that are not going to be interested in my Montessori and the words itself. Choice theory, education approach to education. Latin words, control out of if they think I want my child. True education is leading the best of the person out of themselves. Schooling and the indoctrination is opening your head and pouring in information and saying, you be this. Doesn't mean that much. That's not education. You have to accept it. You're not going to change them and don't try. So I want to get with the company that understands this education process. If you're guys like us, I'd love to join a valley and we can really make a true education over power and control. I'd love to be. I say, and all of my parents and myself and any friend is that the only person you should ever try to control is yourself.
Thank you, Jack.
Do not try to control anyone else because you cannot do it.
Based on your general ideas.
Now they
Do you have any kind of experimental
control with
courses
protection
or things?
And this is where I've got a huge amount of everything. And I'm going to carry this around for my friends. How much time have you got? If I could give a 10-page...
it doesn't matter.
Both of my parents, which I do. This is the document.
Okay, great.
And this is the parent effectiveness training presentation I give to most of my parents on my iPad. And this notice what he's saying here. He says what every parent should know. And he's saying, but in general, I love this. Children, what I'm looking for now is to start up a preschool, meaning now in English, maybe this is not too clear, but in English, most parents, that is a genuine Montessori. My child misbehave today.
Just tell me,
how much do you know about Montessori? A scenario here. He says, David, a very curious and active 3-year-old, empties everything out of his mother's desk and is drawing on her files with a crayon. And so, discovering this mess, his mother angrily pops David on the
know her areas.
And of course, David cries and looks bewildered. When David's father gets home, he's greeted with the mother's report. Darling son, certainly misbehaved today.
What?
You can take Montessori and should, I recommend it, from 2 years old to 17.
Don't misbehave. They do not misbehave. You don't understand as a parent.
I know this.
You don't
it's been going for 50 years.
You've fallen into the mind trap.
There's over 5,000 Montessori schools
in society
in America.
That child is just
some
acting
public,
to
most all
satisfy its
private,
needs.
and most of them are from
It's not
2 years old to 6, maybe. I don't know, but
you as
maybe
parents
60%. Then there's maybe 20-30% are from 7 years old to maybe 13, and then there's fewer yet from the high school.
Meeting his needs is misbehaving.
See, one of the problems with Montessori is that anyone can use the name.
That's all.
Okay.
Unlike
you just don't like
McDonald's,
it.
if you try to use
What's the next?
McDonald's of your restaurant, they'll sue you and put you in jail.
See, this
But
scenario,
anyone can legally
first
use
off,
the name
you would
Montessori,
not
whether
allow-
you even know what Montessori
you can
means or
control
not.
the environment to help your child control himself.
the
This is the
phenomenon
essence
we
of learning self-control. This is the
long
essence of
time.
Montessori. The essence of
Okay.
yeah, there's maybe 10 of them in Beijing.
But
you keep the door locked.
Not real
Where you've got things
So
that you don't
what
want
you've
your
got
child
to
to
do,
get to.
my whole education process over the
this
last
kind of
2 years, I've been talking
where
with 50, 60 parents, mainly in
that's
Beijing,
right.
but around
Like,
China
you don't
generally,
want
is to get them
And so
to,
you don't have
first off, really
in a
understand
Montessori
what
school,
a
you
true
don't have
Montessori is.
misbehavior. You have
And this is
kids
my whole
meeting their
effort so
needs.
far, is
So
to get you
engineer
to understand first, how do you judge a real, true Montessori
that
school?
it doesn't upset you.
And so I go into that, and I'll be showing you this to you. But quickly, one of the major things you've got to do, you've got to get the international organizations that are true, genuine Montessori. So you have to know the history. You have to go deep into the whole process and spend many weeks, months learning, like I've done over the last 3 years, to bring you up to speed.
Now you got the
real
core
Montessori
structure.
Environment is the key to everything. If you have an environment
true Montessori,
like in most government Montessori foundations out of America
where
and
all the
Florida, a
mushrooms
guy
of
called
corruption
Tim
grow.
Selden.
It's dark.
Tim
No one knows what
Selden,
everyone's doing. It's
S-E-L-D-I-N.
under the table. Money. Of course you're going to have
And
corruption.
Sure.
There's a
There's a famous saying, we say
he's
power
younger than
corrupts.
me.
Absolute power
The guy is
absolutely
amazing
corrupts.
because, to my knowledge,
So,
the only one I know,
this is-
I love the word went through Montessori from 2 years old through high school, clear where no one can hide. Then you don't have corruption. Then he put his children
things happening now
into
around
Montessori for people like me called
Now his
anarcho-libertarians,
children's
meaning
children
we
are
don't
putting
believe
their
any
children,
government
so they've got
is
three
not only
children. The only ones
necessary,
that are
but they're an
So this
unnecessary
guy
evil.
is an absolute
All governments are an unnecessary evil. We don't not only not need them, we should get rid of them particularly, not in a revolutionary way, but we just divorce ourselves from them and say, go do your thing over there. I'm not in Florida, America. I don't believe you.
You know
You
that
have no
guy?
credibility.
Sure, I'm taking his
I do
course.
not. I just paid. I'll pay my taxes because I have to, or you put me in jail. I call it theft. You call it taxes. I call now called building. But I have to pay you. Here it is. Take your money. You're ripping it out my pocket. I just watched his webinar last night at 10 o'clock. So people like me, you would be surprised at how many there are around this guy. I mean, unbelievable. It's really twice that amount. It's still worth it, I think, because he's got so much. You don't want to upset the Chinese government. Information upset the American government. So I downloaded this, so you have to be very careful. You say you fly under the radar. And if you're I'm doing this now, so I'm learning a lot from him, and I don't pretend to be an expert at all. So if we set up all that knowledge, we have to be very careful. I'm learning. Say anything. It's going to take me another year or two before I get up to speed. But hey, I certainly know I think more than most people in China. We say to our parents, but I've got a long way to go. So
And you're only
that's
as
the
free
idea.
as you take responsibility.
You step into
And the same thing
Montessori,
with your
you see
children.
how
We can help you
hugely
do this if you
different
want.
it is from
And
any
the first
other,
thing you have to realize
especially
is that
school.
everything
And so
you hear from
I try
any
to make
government
this
in the
point to
world
my Chinese
is
parents and
3/4
educators
lies,
like you is
the other
that
quarter is half truths.
you really have to step out
So
of the
don't pay any
box,
attention to it.
education
So you
box,
have to find
alternative sources
of true
that
information
phrase,
and
thinking
the
outside the
internet
box
allows
you
you
to do
Well, the way I
and I
put
know
it
where
is
to
that
find
you
it
don't
out. It's
only
taken
think
me many
outside the
years
box
to do
but you
this.
think
That's
about
why I
the
say on my
box
business
you're
card,
in.
I'm a
Take the
resource for
box
your
apart.
source.
So
Because
I
use
spent
the
these
metaphor,
years.
this is
Now,
one of my
as a
teaching
parent of your age, I didn't have the time to do this. I was busy earning money, so I could put my kids into a school that I should never have put them into. But I didn't know this, right? That's why I say I wish I would have known then what I know now. So I hope I can make some get you to think changes to help other people wherever in the world. Most of us do not realize actually they are free. You only have to take that freedom and be responsible for it. And it begins by understanding that you've been brainwashed. You've been taught how to think and you've never learned to think for yourself. And I will help you do that. Every parent can do it. It's just going to alternative sources and you make up your own mind. I don't believe me. You think on your own, I'll give you the sources, the information. You think about it. They think paper, children don't misbehave. You have to think about this. It's very simple. And once you get this done, then you find out that
the idea,
the essence
is the thing that they don't have any other choice.
That's right. They think they don't, but they in fact have. The essence of it is do not show your power in China that as a fact they have another choice to control your choice. Do not to be free. And so in other words, pretend your child is like a 200-pound
training
hinges on choice theory. And that's the section when I use choice. If you try to physically hurt them or try to order them and say, so my major two psychological tools or mental models I use along with Montessori is the parent effectiveness training program and choice theory. And these I've been studying for many years. You can't allow them when you're walking along a busy road to just walk out into the traffic. Hardly known at all in China.
That's the intuitive view.
So again, part of what I think this is the fence around it. You can say yes, and then can say, but the point is, you don't tell a seed, again back to my metaphor, a seed that's going to grow into a plant like this, that you're going to be a pine tree. You can spring this. You can't do that.
You can be whatever you want.
I don't, and so what I try to get the parents to think about is that you don't know who your child is going to be.
Sure.
Allow them to find out. Recognize that we have to market that in a way that's not offensive, whether to the Chinese government or to the Chinese parents. So we have to do this.
That's an education like
I'm not saying brainwash,
and also John Dewey what?
Yeah, John Dewey wasn't. John Dewey was a collective. See, again,
really?
You've got to really get into. John Dewey actually believed in government force.
I really didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. Now, parts of Dewey are very good. I mean, you can take parts of his work and use it. It's very good. And because experience and education. Dewey was a community. Really, the parents are the integral part of my approach. You can really, and I think the best way to quickly judge anything as a Montessori world, you're either an individualist or you're a collectivist. Training educator. This is a quick way of doing anything. Get the parents to understand what it is I'm talking about. They're collectivists.
Democracy?
They must want to. Simple definitions.
That's the key point. If you want to do business,
individualism simply means you are the only social being. Not the family, not the
school,
they
not the Communist
must
Party,
yeah,
not the United States, not China, not nations. You are your own source. This is how I put it.
Yeah, and
You
this is the
you
hard
should
part
be
I've
your
found
own
because
authority.
it's so
No one
different,
else
especially
should
from the
tell you
Chinese
how to
mindset.
live your life
So to
except
get
you.
my Chinese
That's
parents to think
individualism.
outside of the box
You
is difficult.
should
So I
live
use
your life.
another
Metaphor to help them do this. I say you must marry Montessori. You must marry Montessori. Now, what I mean by that is like, and I use again this metaphor. I said, you know, when most obviously parents are married, and I say when you met your spouse, your male or your female, your husband, your wife, and you when you were young and you fell in love, or you were friends first and then you married. I said, you know, you didn't just marry any person. You just didn't step and say, oh, I'm going to marry you. You had to know that person and then really value them, right?
Sure.
That's what makes a good marriage. So I use a model actually out of a psychologist, Sternberg. It's a romantic couple model, and he uses it, he calls it the love triangle. And any true, full relationship between man and wife has to have, excuse me, 3 legs. One is the bottom, the most important leg that we call intimacy. Intimate knowledge. You must know who your partner is. Then you must have passion. You must want them. You must desire them. Then you must have commitment. I'm committed to you. I'm going to go with you because I know you, I value you, therefore I am committed to you. Let's go. So that's why I say the same thing with Montessori. I've got to get my parents to first have an intimate knowledge of what the Montessori choice theory, pet effectiveness, parent effectiveness training program really is. Then you can decide if you want it. If you really have it, then you will fall in love. You'll have a passion. I want this. Then you will be committed to it. And so it's not a matter of just parking your child at a place. This is not it. You're not going to park your child like you do in a public school just to go to work. And have them taken care of. That's a prison as far as I'm concerned. Schools are prisons. Yeah, so we're about community. So we're about helping the parent grow every bit as much as helping the child grow. The parents are seeds as well. And the parent, I often tell my parents, you're going to probably learn more than your child. You're going to learn more than your child. So our school, you know, a company that I can get with that will, you know, bring all this together, will be able to offer something that's totally new in China, totally new. And I think we have enough out there, but again, I don't know whether a second, third tier city of 3 million would have sufficiently enough people that are motivated enough to want this sort of program, because as I tell a lot of my parents, it's not for everyone. Sure, it's not like you don't marry. You know, if you're a conservative Chinese and you want an obedient wife, if you're then you'll say, I only want a Chinese obedient wife. That's all I'm going to marry. Well, all right, that's your choice. But if you, using the metaphor, if you're a Montessori person like me, you want another free person who is as free as you and who values freedom. So the 2 words are my core words: responsible freedom. Personally responsible freedom. That's my philosophy. So I marry all that. Personally responsible freedom.
Personally
responsible freedom. That's the core of my Montessori approach. Freedom. Yeah. Personally responsible freedom.
Oh, freedom.
Freedom. Yeah. Personally responsible freedom. Personal. You must. I often say you're only as free as you take the responsibility to be. You are only as free as you take the responsibility to be.
All right.
That's
You're
it.
only as free as you take the responsibility to be.
This is the core.
If you learn to take responsibility, you're going to be free.
Yeah, you take responsibility for your own freedom, and you allow others to do that too.
Okay,
you must allow others to do it too.
you take responsibility for yourself, the more freedom you can have.
Yeah, and you must allow others to do that, which is the core of Montessori. It's the core of parent effectiveness training. We don't. In fact, I've got a beautiful paper here that I brought for you. But
yeah, in terms of your philosophy, what is the relationship between freedom and self-discipline?
yeah, good point. Good point. This is why I say responsibility for your own freedom. How you have to be responsible for the results of your free actions. This is it. So we're social animals. How we act has an effect on other people. So my whole approach to education and life in general is that you are free to do anything you want to do except for only one thing. Only one thing. And that is, you cannot initiate force against another person to get what you want. Force or fraud. You can't do
like
that.
Confucius said, do not
do unto others as you do to another as you would have them not do to you.
Right.
The golden rule.
Right.
Yeah, that's a core of it. That's a part of it. But more than that, see, most people in the world, they want to be free, but they don't want another person to be free. I'm free, but I want to control you.
Okay.
And this doesn't work.
It makes sense.
It doesn't work. So choice theory, why I include choice theory, William Glasser, dead now, as is Thomas Gordon, he makes the point, 5 universal needs for every person on the earth. First one, survival. You've got to have enough food, shelter to keep you warm in the winter, etc. Then the second need is power and control. Both for yourself and maybe, unfortunately, a lot of people like to control other people. And this is the essence of the human tragedy. Whether it's Mao Zedong or Hitler or Obama or George Bush, we've got too many people out there that want to control other people and tell them how to live their life. This is how you should live your life, and if you don't, I'll kill you. So, the third need is love and belonging. We all need to belong, and we all need to love and be loved. The fourth need is freedom. The fifth need is play and fun. So when any individual will have different priorities, different degrees of those needs. Some people, like politicians, need a lot of power and control. And they want freedom for themselves, but they don't want it for you. So when you get, when I counsel marriages, and I get a man and a woman that's having a difficulty in their marriage, and I've done a lot of work on this, and I've been on TV in Australia about this too, and I can show you videos of this.
You're supposed to counsel marriage?
Oh yeah. I've been doing this many years. You don't know how much stuff
I don't
show
know
you about me. But anyway, the theme being, if you have let's say a husband that values freedom greatly, and you have a wife that values control and power, you've got problems in any marriage.
Your value is different.
Yeah, of course. She says, I need to control you. No, I want to be free. You're always going to have problems. But if you've got, someone who, let's say, needs to belong and needs loving and belonging and is willing to give up their freedom to belong, and the husband wants control and power, and the wife can be happy with that. It's called a traditional marriage, right?
Oh, right, sure.
So that works, fine, okay, that's fine. But this is the point. So you've got to know yourself well enough to know which one of these 5 needs do you most value, and then hopefully you've got a partner that's pretty much in sync with you and that fits you well. If you don't, that's where the divorces come from. And it's the same when we go into our school. We have to recognize most of the people that are not going to be interested in my Montessori-P.E.T Choice Theory approach to education if they want control. If they think, I want my child to
go to Gaokao. I want them to be like Xi Jinping. I want them to be a good Chinese citizen. You know, the nation comes first. We want it. They're not going to want this because freedom doesn't mean that much to them. And you have to accept that. You're not going to change them, and don't try. So my whole education process is trying to find people that value basically freedom over power and control. I say to all of my parents and myself and any friend is that the only person you should ever try to control is yourself. Do not try to control anyone else because you cannot do it. And that includes your children. Now they confuse control with protection when you're little. And this is why I love, and I'll just show you this. I always carry this around for all my friends because if I could give a 10-page document to my parents, which I do, this is the document I hand to them. And this is the parent effectiveness training guy, Thomas Gordon. And notice what he's saying here. He said, what every parent should know. And he's saying, I love this. Children don't misbehave. Now in English, maybe this is not too clear, but in English, most parents, we say, my child misbehaved today. Now he gives a little bit of a scenario here. He says, David, a very curious and active 3-year-old, empties everything out of his mother's desk and is drawing on her files with a crayon.
It's called misbehavior.
Yeah.
Misbehavior,
yeah.
right?
And so, discovering this mess, his mother angrily pops David on the rear. Oh, bad boy. And of course, David cries and looks bewildered. When David's father gets home, he's greeted with the mother's report, our darling son certainly misbehaved today. He makes the crucial point is that children don't misbehave. They do not misbehave. You don't understand as a parent. You don't understand this. You've fallen into the mind trap most parents always fall into and society falls into. That child is just acting to satisfy its needs. It's not misbehaving, it's behaving. But you as parents...
should be responsible for the freedom?
No, but the point of it is, you parents, you have to be responsible for, don't label him meeting his needs as misbehaving. He's behaving. He's doing what he should do. You don't like it, that's all.
Okay.
You just don't like it.
Then what's the next?
Okay, well the next is, just using this scenario, first off, you would not allow, you can control the environment to help your child control himself. This is the essence of learning self-control. This is the essence of Montessori. The essence of mind. Okay,
Example?
well, now, just using this example,
Right.
you keep the drawer locked, where you've got things that you don't want your child to get to.
Meaning you really need to set up this kind of environment where the children will not behave.
That's right.
Like you don't want.
Exactly. And so you don't have misbehavior. In a Montessori school, you don't have misbehavior. You have kids meeting their needs. So you engineer the environment to allow them to meet their own needs in the best possible way that doesn't upset you.
Actually, I think generally it's kind of universal in both the government operation and the business operation. For example, the corruption.
Yep.
If you have a very beautiful mechanism to prevent people being corrupted, they will not do that.
Now you got the core. Structure. Environment is the key to everything. If you have an environment like in most government bureaucracies, it's where all the mushrooms of corruption grow. It's dark. No one knows what everyone's doing. It's under the table, money. Of course you're going to have corruption.
Sure.
You know, there's a famous saying, we say power corrupts, absolute power absolutely corrupts.
Sure.
So, I love the word transparency. You need to make things absolutely clear where no one can hide. Then you don't have corruption. There's some beautiful things happening now around the world for people like me called anarcho-libertarians, meaning we don't believe any government is not only necessary, but they're an unnecessary evil. All governments are an unnecessary evil. We don't not only not need them, we should get rid of them totally. Now, not in a revolutionary way, but we just divorce ourselves from them. We say, go do your thing over there. I'm not going to be bothered by you. I don't believe you. You have no credibility for me. I do not respect you. Goodbye. I'll pay my taxes because I have to, or you put me in jail. I call it theft. You call it taxes. I call it theft. But I have to pay you. Here it is. Take your money. You're ripping it out of my pocket. I don't respect you. Take it and go away. Thank you. So people like me, you would be surprised at how many there are of me around the world now. Unbelievable. It's through the internet that's freeing us up. And so you don't want to upset the Chinese government. You don't want to upset the American government especially. So you have to be very careful. We say you fly under the radar.
You
don't say anything at all bad about them, and you just don't pay any attention to them. So if we set up our school, we have to be very careful. We don't say anything to upset the Chinese government.
Sure.
You're fine. Pay your taxes. Be good. Don't, But we say to our parents, you are free. And you're only as free as you take the responsibility to be. And the same thing with your children, and we can help you do this if you want. And the first thing you have to realize is that everything you hear from any government in the world is 3/4 lies, the other quarter is half-truths. So don't pay any attention to it. So you have to find alternative sources of true information, and the internet will allow you to do that. And I know where to find it out. It's taken me many, many years to do this, but that's why I say on my business card, I'm a resource for your source. Because I spent these years, now as a parent of your age, I didn't have the time to do this. I was busy earning money so I could put my kids into a school that I should never have put them into. But I didn't know this, right? That's why I say I wish I would have known then what I know now. So I hope I can make some changes to help other people wherever in the world to realize actually they are free. You only have to take that freedom and be responsible for it. And it begins by understanding that you've been brainwashed.
All right.
You've been taught how to think, and you've never learned to think for yourself, and I will help you do that. Everyone can do it. It's just going to alternative sources, and you make up your own mind. I don't want you, don't believe me. You think on your own. I'll give you the sources, the information. You think about it. Like this paper, Children don't misbehave. You have to think about this. It's very simple. And once you get this done, then you find out that what the essence, if I could put PET, Parent Effectiveness Training, into just a couple short phrases, the essence of it is, do not use your power as a parent to control your child. Do not do that. So in other words, pretend your child is like a 200-pound body bouncer and can hit you back if you try to physically hurt them, or try to order them and say, you don't do that, you can't do that. No, you outlaw physical and moral force. You treat your child like a person, like you want to be treated. Gongsun, Jesus, whatever you want to say. But now obviously a 2-year-old, you can't allow them when you're walking along a busy road to just walk out into the traffic. No, we're not talking about that. So
that's the
confused.
Protection and...
Yeah, this is the fence around them to keep them safe. But the point is, you don't tell a seed, again back to my metaphor, a seed that's going to grow into a plant like this, that you're going to be a pine tree, or you're going to be a rose.
Sure,
you can't do that.
You can be what are you?
Be whatever you are. I don't, and so what I try to get my parents to think about is that you don't know who your child is going to be.
Sure.
Allow them to find out. That's the essence of the Montessori-P.E.T Choice Theory approach.
That's also actually the core thing in Western education, like Dewey, John Dewey.
Well, no, actually, John Dewey wasn't.
John Dewey what?
Yeah, John Dewey wasn't this. John Dewey was a collective. See, again,
Really?
you've got to really get into. No, John Dewey actually believed in government force.
Oh, I really didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. Now, parts of Dewey are very good. I mean, you can take parts of his work and use it. It's very good, and because experience and education. But Dewey was a collectivist. Really, the essence of my approach. You can really, and I think the best way to quickly judge anything in the human world, you're either an individualist or you're a collectivist. This is the quick way of doing anything. Now, communism, democracy, they're collectivist.
Oh, even democracy?
Of course, absolutely. Simple definitions need to be gotten very clear right from the beginning. Individualism simply means you are the only social unit. Not the family, not the school, not the Communist Party, not the United States, not China, not nations, you. You are your own source. This is how I put it. You should be your own authority. No one else should tell you how to live your life except you. That's individualism. You should live your life